Come on, bitch, let's go. Come on, get ready, bitches. You haven't seen nothing yet. Come on.
Valentino, Versace, Lamborghini, Bugatti. I got money to burn. I'm single and I'm naughty.
Come on.
Tiffany's, Cartier, Gucci, Armani.
Come on.
Break out your black card, boys. It's time to party.
So as you guys know, when you're watching, a housewives show, usually Andy Cohen piggybacks Watch What Happens Live on it to up his viewership, right? So you sign up for watching the housewife show, and then his Watch What Happens Live 30 minutes or whatever it is shoved in at the end of it. And you it doesn't even stop. You know what I mean? It just goes right into it. You're like, hey, wait a minute. I didn't want to watch this, but then you kind of have to. I mean, am I being shady? Probably. So here's the thing. I happen to be watching, I think it was Potomac, and then it rolled into Watch What Happens Live, and I'm watching Lisa Barlow, and I'm listening to it for tea because I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Let me see what she says. And boom, this happened.
Then do you see how your immediate reaction to lash out does make you seem guilty?
No, because what happened is Bronwyn sat down at the table and she immediately said, I feel like Whitney did it. And she said she got her information from Dana Wilkey. And that's where I stood up for Whitney and said, no one here would do that. Whitney wouldn't do that. None of us here would do it. And then Whitney, instead of being like, thank you, was like, you did this to me last year. And I'm like, I didn't do it to you last year. It was proven all of your false allegations were wrong.
Okay.
And so it started a whole nother thing. Dismiss.
Right. Yes.
So this was a really unusual way to tell a story that Lisa used, and I wanted to talk about this first. So she says that Bronwyn sat down, so it's Bronwyn, and that Bronwyn said that she got information from Dana Wilkey, okay, listen to that, and that she heard from me, and my content has to be, that Whitney is behind dropping the gossip about, I guess, Bronwyn, because the lunch scene is all about Bronwyn's criminal tea coming out versus later in the show, it moves off Bronwyn's criminal gossip and it moves on to dropping gossip about all the women. So they strategically move it from Bronwyn to all the women. Okay, and they're trying to blame Lisa for that. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if that actually happened or not, because that was obviously cut, if it was, that I never, to anyone, not a cast member, not a friend of a cast member, not anyone in Gossip Land, nobody ever heard me say that Whitney was the one who dropped Bronwyn's criminal tea. That just is not the case. It never was said, not ever. And obviously, if I said it, I'd be happy to own it because I say everything, as you guys know. I mean, things that Bravo don't want me to say. Now, what I can't figure out is how Lisa, being such a big deep diver that she allegedly is, dropping tea on everybody left and right per Heather, doesn't know that I think it was Heather who dropped the Alibaba tea on Whitney. So why, right? Why would she say Whitney when she knows it's Heather? So, I mean, I have to imagine that that was a retaliation on the fact that Whitney said that Lisa dropped the tea about the Alibaba thing to me, and she knew that Lisa didn't for me because it was in writing and text messages that I told her it wasn't Lisa, that I didn't think that. So I said, no, I don't think it's Lisa, and she still went ahead with that narrative on the show. She kept filming as if Lisa did it. She didn't correct herself on camera where she said, I'm not sure. Or let me backtrack, or even to the producers if they're forcing her to, you guys, I have it in writing that she didn't do it. So I need to spin it somehow and get some advice on that from them if they were pressuring her to do it. None of that happened. Whitney keeps going with that narrative that Lisa Barlow for sure dropped the Alibaba tea to me. Now, I know why Whitney did that. Whitney did that because Lisa is and has been believed to actively look for dirt on everybody on the show since before season 1 and to drop it. Okay. So all the women in the cast believe that, and they always have. Whitney probably justified the means to the end by saying, listen, maybe this one is a lie, but I know in the end, it's Lisa Barlow that does it most of the time. So we need to out it. So let's use this as an opportunity to, right? Who cares if I'm wrong? And more importantly, I can spin it that people on the broader audience will think I'm telling the truth. They won't know the real storyline because they don't listen to Dana's show. So 1 million people will think it's Lisa. And, maybe 50,000 will know the truth that Dana thinks it's Heather. And, so what does it matter in the end, really? I'm getting, what my truth is about Lisa out. Now, that brings me to Bronwyn's criminal tea, okay? There's been a lot of reports of where this tea originated from. And I know the person who actually runs the Bravo Derm account. And I do want to say that there was an email between me and that account where we were discussing Bronwyn's criminal receipts that I was sent by Bravo Derm robustly because they've been posting them on their X feed. And they said, listen, let me give it all to you and tell you my theory and what I think and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, that's really in-depth, incredible research you've done on this. I complimented the account and the person that I was talking to on email. But in it, they said, it's so annoying because Bravo Boo is claiming they were the originators of the gossip. But in reality, I was the originator of the gossip. And I did the research and found this all out. And so, it kind of annoyed me that Bravo Boo was getting the credit. And then Bravo Boo in the tabloid said, no, I am the originator of the gossip. And I never spoke to Lisa Barlow. But obviously, from the email that I received from Bravo Derm believes that Bravo Boo actually saw their post and then took it and put it on their site like it was them, that first found it. So that this is between them. Now, after this week's episode came out, which I'm going to recap shortly with gossip in it, Bravo Derm posted this because Shed used his posts without his permission because they were, I guess, in the public record, and with maybe just images, you can do that. But they were taken out of context and they weren't used in a way that he liked or was appropriate. And he never received anything for it. Big shocker. But he posted this to call Bronwyn a liar about how she pieces together that it's Lisa Barlow who has spread this information about Bronwyn's criminal background. On October 30th, Bravo Derm said, Bronwyn and @Shed Media One are so dishonest. I started calling her Conwyn and Conwyn Fraudport in January. After the necklace lie at the reunion, they said I started calling the Conwyn the next day after Amy's event. The post they referenced was March 17th. And then he did a clown emoji. And then he brought up the proof that on January 29, 2025, he wrote Conwyn Fraudport. Caught in another lie, she's a pathological. And it was from January 29, 2025, not March, like they made it seem on the show. Now, this account, Bravo Derm, also is the one who wrote all the Reddits that you saw that were so detailed about Bronwyn Newport, that broke down these amazing, intricate theories as to what and why and the motives behind all of the scandals to do with Bronwyn in her life. And I know this because the account reached out to me via email and said, check out my Reddit, and was not shy about it. I actually went on my show and I was like, this person who's the Bronwyn expert of her scandals sent me this incredible Reddit where like months later pieced together even more data, even more information. Okay. And this person that I'm communicating with that runs the Bravo Derm account is a person, and they have like a backstory. And so, I don't believe this person is Lisa Barlow. That said, this person specializes in the last, at least since March, really studying Bronwyn, like in a level that honestly could be like a Harvard degree in it. It's so good. But on the flip side, the account has been around since November of 2012 and covers loads of different gossip in a really deep and interesting way. So it makes me wonder, was there a housewife maybe egging this person on? So being me, I asked, wouldn't you ask? I said, look, Here's an account that's alleging that you're talking to Mary Cosby. Are you talking to Mary Cosby as a source? Here's somebody else who's saying that you're talking to Lisa. Are you talking to Lisa Barlow? And the answer to these were no. He said, I blocked Lisa Barlow when I found out that she didn't own her house and that she was using her cousin's house as an exterior on early seasons, and that she was renting a house and it wasn't even really what we were seeing on camera. And as a result of that, with her over-the-top pretentiousness, I found it like too hard to bear, because obviously you don't have the money you're pretending to be, was the position that you're a liar too. The other thing I said was, what about the Mary rumors? Because there was an account saying that Bravo Durham was getting information from Mary. Well, the answer to that one was no. And in fact, this is what was said. I haven't communicated with Mary in years. The only person on the cast I've ever spoken to about Bronwyn was Angie Katsanevas. So if the reporting is correct that she's accusing Barlow of feeding me info, that's interesting. She knows better than that. And Angie has said to me privately things that make me surprised to see her aligning with false narratives to support Bronwyn. Did you hear that? Because that's some fucking tea. So after this all happened in the last week, Bravo Durham posted text messages showing that he had had numerous conversations with Angie Katsanevas, at times coaching her on storylines, like, for example, you should promote your Greek citizenship and maybe do some kind of pro-Greek stuff. That would be really cool to watch. And, you know, seeing you interested in your culture more on the show would be really fun. And Angie Katsanevas listens to the Bravo Durham and ends up doing that in her storyline quite a bit, as we've seen. Actually takes action based on this account's advice. There's also, you know, other conversations that are happening, you know, between them. We only see a few text messages. I'm sure there are more. I don't know how many more, but I'm sure there are more. And obviously the Bravo Durham doesn't have a problem with me saying what I'm saying, because the account posted that he was talking to Angie Katsanevas, and what about some of it, right? So that's why I'm talking about it. Now, he went on to say, no housewife has sent me any of the stuff I've posted. Please don't reveal this next part, which I'm not going to reveal because I respect my sources always. And that will never be shared except to me. Now, I want to give Bravo Durham a shout out here, because this person has been really great to collaborate with on the evidence and receipts, and really earns an accolade for the deep dive that he's done, which is this business. It is what we do. And more importantly, the housewives all use it on their shows, whether they shout your name out or not, okay? Like, it is what it is. They're all watching for tea to drop on each other, or to figure out who their real friends are behind the scenes and who they aren't, because they don't always know. It's very confusing. It's a huge mindfuck to be on any of these housewife shows. You need to know that. Just to give you an example, do you guys remember that at the end of Real Housewives of Orange County season 19, where they call out that Gretchen Rossi is a homophobic because of what Tamra Judge pulls out and all this stuff, and it's the big finale, and I just covered it. Do you remember that Gretchen Rossi was just a friend of? She's not even a housewife. So imagine that. Imagine that you go on the show as like a semi-part-time cast member, and you end up being like the center of the entire season. I'm sure they paid her really well, but you know, you end up being the center of the season, and you end up having to defend yourself against homophobic allegations on Bravo, which, you know, the origin story is it's a gay network. And you're saying it's not true, the images were doctored, all these things, and assuming that she isn't lying, and that is the case. Imagine the mind F that is. Now, assuming some of the influencers out there that believe Angie K is the one spilling tea on all the cast members, which I've heard several times, you might be wondering why she would be coming for Lisa Barlow, right? And, you know, yes, there's hints of it on the show we've seen, but really, truly, after Lisa Barlow got the Kerastase ad, Angie Katsanevas actively pursued the Kerastase people to do a campaign with them and kind of take it and steal it away from Lisa Barlow. So there's like a rivalry there happening behind the scenes that actually centers around Kerastase, if you can believe that. But it will make sense to you guys if you understand how competitive housewives are, not on the show, off. So now that we got all of that out of the way, don't think for a second I didn't think it was odd that Angie Katsanevas blocks me seemingly for no reason at some point. I don't even know when, but I know it wasn't at the beginning when she probably should have blocked me, because frankly, I was talking about all of her scandals when she first joined the show, and then I didn't really talk about her scandals much after that. So she blocks me at this really odd time. Don't think that like went unnoticed by me. I even said it on my show a few weeks ago. I said, you know what's so weird? I've been looking at all these housewives accounts, and like the only one who's really blocked me is Angie Katsanevas. And it doesn't seem to make sense as to why it happened. There's no big trigger moment. Like with Whitney, you know, you understand it. I outed her MLM. I, went deep on Whitney on a few occasions with storylines she made up and all this stuff. So I mean, that you could get, right? Okay, that makes sense, but not Angie, which makes me think she intentionally wanted everyone to believe that she's not looking at my gossip, but she probably is. Remember, Whitney Rose didn't block me. None of the women have blocked me, only Angie Katsanevas. Now, isn't that unusual? What Bravo Derm said about all this when it dropped, I had asked the account to come back to me on it, and he didn't, so I never got a personal conversation about it with him. But what I did see him post on his social media was the following. First of all, the Practical Progressive wrote, I'm actually surprised they didn't need you to sign a release to show the receipts that a really popular pagey and very liked the Bravo Derm posted. And all they had to do was DM you. So this is what this person says to Bravo Derm. And Bravo Derm says, well, I suspect it's because @Shed Media One knew I wouldn't have consented to what they showed because it was presented in an extremely inaccurate, manipulative way to support a false narrative. We'll explain in abundant detail soon, but I need a night off from this. So, this account is going to probably go on a podcast and talk about it. Now, why did Lisa Barlow tell this story on Watch What Happens Live? Well, first of all, I think Lisa Barlow probably has listened to some of my gossip and appreciates that I usually don't just tell gossip from the perspective of who I might like socially or who I might like on the show. I try to tell you guys the real truth, not the narrative that necessarily is being sold out there. And in some cases, this has worked for Lisa Barlow, because I've said that in an instance where the world was saying that Lisa Barlow dropped the Alibaba tea to me, who did the original video on YouTube that sort of started it all, I confirmed truly based on evidence and broke it down that I didn't. And so in this case, it benefited Lisa Barlow, the truth, or my truth of what I believe, right? Based on my experience with this person who gave me the tea. So for that reason, I don't think Lisa Barlow, hates me. I think at this point, she's kind of like, well, if Dana has the receipt, she'll tell the truth. And that's that. Secondly, I think she was sending a message to Whitney Rose, bitch, I'm coming for you because I know you knew that I didn't give Dana Wilkey the gossip to do with Alibaba's jewelry and your company, and you still pretended like it was the case through the whole season and put me through that. And so now I'm going to send you a message on Watch What Happens Live that I believe you are the one dropping all the gossip to all the sites. So Whitney, I'm coming for you, and I'm just going to say this. And then she put Bronwyn in the middle of it because she hates fucking Bronwyn. So now she's coming for Bronwyn and Whitney together, and by having Bronwyn be the one who got the information, that naturally makes Whitney now have to call this out with Bronwyn and try to bring it out on the show if they're going to go that far. They know I won't sign the release, so I doubt it. Bravo probably didn't even know Lisa Barlow was doing that on Watch What Happens Live. I love that she's such a little rebel. God, she's got balls. But, the reality is that what I don't understand is why she didn't just say it was Heather. But maybe that's because that's a nuke they want to drop in a later season. I don't know, because think of it, it would be a huge bomb to drop given that Heather was the one who did the whole receipts timeline shit with Monica Garcia. So, let's call it what it was. That would be epic. But also they may be protecting Heather, especially with her new Mormon expose coming out. But Heather is so smart, and she's a successful businesswoman, and she likes gossip just like all of them do. And all of them do. I need you guys to hear that. Let me say it again. All of them dig up stuff on each other. Come on now. So anyway, I mean, no one should really be villainized here. In fact, I wish more of them would just come in the Patreon so we could all chat about it privately. They don't have to give away storyline. We could just talk about everybody's skeletons in their closet, right? So that's that. So now Whitney knows that Lisa's coming for her, and so does Bronwyn. And this is where that shot fired, I think, was her sending a big sign to them. But where is Angie in all this? So we open up Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 6, Episode 7, Above Deck and Below the Belt, with a scene where everybody's arriving at the airport to head off on this below deck mashup trip with the women. And they pop up a news clipping that Bronwyn has a felony past, a grand theft, and identity theft issue, and it shows, one of our favorite influencers thing that they put up about it. And they also show the son that Bronwyn was evicted from her apartment before she ends up marrying Todd. Guys, if you don't know, in Gossip Land as a whole, the whole story here is that Todd came in and solved all Bronwyn's problems, including her legal ones. So this has obviously got Bronwyn a little nervous, needing to prepare because she's got to figure out what she's going to say with her giant PR team, which she has, to address these allegations, okay? Because they're coming. And she knows it. So she's like, oh, I need a beat just to figure out what to do. And that's why she comes late. But she's coming. So the women arrive 15 hours later in Canawan. And I have to say I was impressed with the yacht. It wasn't a mega yacht, but it was definitely a mid-size mega yacht. Usually mega yachts have 12 to 15 bedrooms and are double the size. But it was a very great yacht. I'd say if you want to guess how much it is to rent a week, I'm going to guess around 300,000 euro per week for this boat, I'm thinking. But anyway, the women get a tour and it's lovely. And they're having champagne and getting going. And they're figuring out that Bronwyn's going to somehow get to the boat. Brittany brings up that she finally was taking a 30-day break with Jared, but then Jared came over to help her pack for the trip, and she broke the 30 days and immediately hooked up with them, and so she had to start it all over again. But she's now interested in Captain Jason, and it turns out that Heather Gay in the past has hooked up with Captain Jason, and they fucked around, but there was no chemistry, so they just became friends after. So I don't know how Brittany feels about this with now pursuing Captain Jason. He's pretty fine. And then, of course, the women dump water on Brittany a few times to try to get her to stop saying Jared's name. And then we jump to Bronwyn Newport appearing in one of her weirder dresses, which looks like half survival boat and half buoy. And the women break up into their different rooms they're going to be staying in. There's not that many rooms on the boat, so everybody's kind of bunking together. And Bronwyn and Brittany are going to be together, which Bronwyn seems a little isolated at this point on her own little island a bit. It's pretty clear from her arrival that it's going to be really clearly Lisa versus Bronwyn. And it's pretty clear to me that there's a few women that have been trying to push Bronwyn to continuously attack Lisa within the cast. And then the creepiest thing that has ever occurred in Bravo history on any show happens. Brittany breaks out a unicorn and it has Jared's voice on it saying, "You are loved." Yes, you heard that correctly. And I know that was probably scarier than anything you saw this last weekend to do with Halloween. Sadly, Angie gets seasick on the boat and throws up, which is unusual for a larger boat because usually they have good stabilizers on it and you don't feel the movement. But apparently it must have been rough seas this day because Angie throws up. So then Bronwyn says the reason that she was late on the trip was she had to deal with her daughter and Todd because somebody had leaked to all the tabloids all this information to do with her criminal past, which she said they didn't happen a few years ago. The women kind of argue with her a little bit about her claims that, this is all kind of a big misunderstanding about what happened. The thing that about being evicted was I was pregnant. I didn't finish my rent payment at school and I left. They got a judgment. And then later, this thing was about someone else that I was implicated in to do with my financial job, but it was not really me and I was expunged. I'm going to play it for you just because I know you'll appreciate this receipt later. So first and foremost, notice that every single woman at that table wants it to be Lisa who spilled this tea on Bronwyn because they all truly believe behind the scenes it is Lisa. Then notice who has the most amount of detail to do with Bronwyn Newport's criminal allegations, which were obviously done by me and others in great detail and covered with receipts and everything all over the social media. But in the meantime, let me play you the scene and listen again. Who has the detail?
Is everything okay though? It's just a lot of stuff went on last week and it upset Todd. People keep trying to dig in my past and twist things and say things that aren't true. And he kind of felt like maybe I'd be better at home than out here.
I didn't look into specifics, but I saw things that went from just a few years back to 20 years back. And
I saw stuff that was 2021.
I think it would be in your best interest just to clear it up because it looks a lot worse than my guess is it is.
It is.
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, of course. I got kicked out of BYU 20 years ago. And when I left BYU, I did not pay my last month of rent. It took me a few months to get my life together. And there was a judgment that I didn't pay my last couple months of rent at my apartment.
I mean, that
was 20 years ago. I was 19. I was pregnant. I got kicked out of college.
Coming up in the
Somebody
press.
tried to bring that up.
But the charges that are coming up now are...
There's no charges against me from 4 years ago. This new thing people are trying to say is there was something that went on at my work and I cooperated with authorities about it. They were not charges against me. And years later, all of the charges against not me went through, but it was sealed. Why? Can't discuss it. The whole case was sealed, which is why people are speculating because nobody can get any information on a case that's sealed. It was not.
Why would they file charges on your record then?
There's no charges that are filed about me. There's no mugshot. There's no police record. There's nothing. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So why is it so upsetting then?
Yeah, then why would it matter? Both of us kind of felt like there's some nasty things that have come out in the press after I've hung out with this group of friends. And I think both of us are concerned that maybe somebody in this group is doing it.
I don't think it's anybody here. Nobody here would do that. We've been hanging out for a long time and nobody would do that here. Nobody.
How are they getting detailed information that has to be dug up and spun?
I agree with Whitney. It is weird that stuff comes up in this group all the time. It is weird that
I don't think it's weird. I'm just being super direct. I don't think it's weird that you dug up stuff on me. Just bringing stuff to the group when I wasn't there. I'm being clear. I upset you, and I felt like that was a little bit of a retaliation. I do not believe one person here
about is that I've upset somebody and they're doing this.
Nope.
Pipe down, Lisa. You're revealing yourself. She's clearly saying, don't put two and two together in case anyone here is putting two and two together.
Don't spin this on me because you got targeted, because that'll piss me off.
My lawsuit's leaked, and someone did that to me, but no one would ever do that to you, and certainly not in retaliation.
Well, you know who you're talking about. It's not just anybody random out the group.
I don't.
It's not me.
So you don't think it's Lisa?
I've never done that to anybody here.
Here's the thing. It doesn't really matter what's going on. It would really bother me if it was somebody in this group of friends. I don't think any of us should do that to each other.
Who do you think it came from?
Look, I'm just going to say this, and I'm not accusing anybody, but after Amy's, it intensified. And I had a lot of fights at Amy's. And after the lunch I came to where you had clarification, I thought you and I cleared things up and we had to sit down and we talked.
We did, and I didn't do anything to you.
So I don't know where to say this is coming from.
But that sounds like figure out. That sounds like an accusation.
No, that sounds like an accusation. It would be really devastating if I sat down and apologized to you and it kept going with you.
Who said my stuff? Who was going to the blogs and Salt Lake Tribune? I'm so irritated with another accusation as dumb as this one. Okay, you guys, let's just go swimming. This is irritating.
No one even accused you, bitch. The reason we know it's you is because you give yourself away.
That gets fun.
See that hot mic moment? That got spun. So let me call out who knew the most amount of detail. It was first prize goes to Heather Gay, 2021. She pulls out the date. Second prize goes to Meredith Marks. Meredith Marks knows the general timeline. What does that mean? Those women studied the gossip in detail, or heard me study it maybe. But essentially, they've got it, okay? And they're pushing it. They're the ones driving this forward. Okay, Meredith and Heather. And what are they driving forward? They're driving forward a fight between Lisa and Bronwyn. And what are they hoping comes out of it? That Lisa Barlow is the one dropping the tea on everybody to the bloggers, okay? Now, let me stop here and tell you, as a reminder from the beginning of the show today, all the cast have believed from the beginning that Lisa Barlow has dug up dirt on all of them to use on the show. And she has figured out ways to get it out through Finsta accounts and otherwise. This is from the very beginning. And they have been dying for her to be called out for this because it makes being on the show with her very, very challenging. And I also want to call out at this moment the real reason that Heather Gay was pissed at Monica Garcia. And as much as I like to play into the narrative that it was because they saw her as a real risk for the show and HR and complained to NBC and all this stuff that she was stalking them. For Heather, I've always known the truth. And that to me is a logical truth, which is when Monica Garcia attacked Heather Gay's real business that she had before the show, Beauty Lab, and questioned that her work wasn't done properly and all of these things. That was the final straw for Heather. Do not attack her business. Jen Shah, don't attack her business. Monica Garcia, don't attack her business. If you go for Heather Gay's business, that's your end to Heather Gay. That is the line you do not cross with her. Everybody has a different line, like their kid or whatever it is. For her, it's that. And it's pretty obvious that that's the case. But I'm not sure it's ever been said so clearly. But if you guys haven't figured that out, that's what really went down there, in my opinion. Now, I also want to pinpoint in that scene that Whitney Rose, who, when she's hip to something, loves to demonstrate how smart she is. For example, in the scene with Jen Shah, where she seems to know so much about pyramid schemes and, you know, all the stuff that she said about Jen Shah, which kind of shocked people that she was so detailed about it. Wink, wink. The thing is that she didn't say a damn peep about this. You would expect that Whitney, as usual, would like to demonstrate how smart she is, and she would have gone into a dissertation about... For the full scoop, join the Dishing Drama Dana Patreon. The link is in this audio description. It's only $6 a month, and you'll get the best information and tea about the things you care about, and even the things you don't know you care about. What are you waiting for?